Well, we made it to another Viva Fresh. Although, this time it feels a little different. I'm scratching my head. I just can't put my finger on it. Can you think what it might be that's different this
Well, look
time?
around.
Well,
What do
I'm
you want?
looking around and I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on.
You
I
need
don't know.
my glasses or no? I mean, we're not in the lobby between like
The
the
toilet.
men's room
Remember,
and the.
we were so close to the
Well, I mean,
toilet.
I'm trying to
last
keep it
year.
clean. Women's room, men's room, ladies' room, men's room. Yeah, that's where we're at last year. So, no, we're smack dab in the middle of the expo floor. So, awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. And Viva Fresh is close to you and I. It's in a special place in our heart.
Sure.
Being from the very front of this thing, they've been so good to us. The show, the Fresh Cred, it's been a great partnership, and again, it's been good to be part of it. We're beyond thrilled to be here, be able
Yep.
to attend, be able to do this from the show floor, and be part of it. So it's been great.
Yeah, and for those of you listening, you're going to hear from sponsors, guests, individuals today, which without we couldn't be here. We definitely want to thank them. Colimex, B&M Avocados, IFCO, Full Tilt Marketing, Santis Produce, Sunfed, Splendid, and Produce Careers.
Well, thank you, Viva Fresh. Thank you, all of our sponsors. And thank you, Ed.
And thank you, Craig.
And thank you, Ed, for being such a good friend.
You're so thankful.
And enjoy the show. Well, welcome back. That was a pretty exciting ribbon cutting, and an even more exciting way to start. Yeah, everything can't go just smooth as butter, as they say. So, but hey, we had a good start with Mr. Bassetti. That was kind of a pleasure to have him stop by and bring some little tequila with him.
Is that what that was?
Oh, you didn't notice?
No, I thought it was apple juice. It looked like apple juice.
Well, it did look like apple juice.
Yeah.
And it tasted pretty good. Maybe it was
yucky.
apple juice. Yeah. So
we are back, and we're joined by Mr. Ben Ferreira from H.E.B.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. For those of you listening, H.E.B. is a huge supporter of the Viva Fresh Expo and also one of our diamond sponsors. So thank you for the support, for sure.
Absolutely. This event gets bigger and bigger every year.
So Ben, have you been attending since they kicked this off? Did you go back in the day when it was at the island? How long have you been coming to the?
I think I go back about 10 or 15 years.
10 or 15 years. So did you ever go to the island shows? Or?
I did not.
Okay, so you were here when they started this, or we just got kicked off.
Many years down at the JW.
Yeah,
Yeah.
For sure. But it's grown quite a bit.
It really has.
To say the least.
It really has.
Yeah.
It's a great show.
Well, we talked a little bit, before, kind of what this podcast, what the show's about, and Ed already mentioned, what H.E.B. means. But, how, just real quick for you, 26 years in the business, always with H.E.B., right?
All with H.E.B.
So just real quick, I mean, how did you get into it? How did you get here? How did you find yourself with H.E.B.?
It's my story is similar to many people's that work for H.E.B. But it's unique in that my mom actually got the job for me. She was friends with. I started in a small store in west of San Antonio in a little town called Hondo, and she was friends with one of the cashiers there. And she would go to her lane every week. And one day, just in the course of conversation, she said, "I'm trying to help my son find a job while he's going to college."
That is great.
Yeah, no doubt.
I was already employed, but I was looking for something that would be more conducive to college hours. And she said, "Well, Jeff was the name of the store director. Just talk to Jeff. We'll get him a job." So I showed up for my interview, and I never forget walking in the door and Jeff sitting behind his desk, and he says, "Oh, you Ben? Yeah, okay. Go ahead and show up Monday, and we'll start you out." And that was the interview.
Wow.
We don't do interviews that way.
It's
anymore.
still that easy, right?
Yeah.
I was prepared for a few more questions, but
Yeah.
and so I just found my passion in produce. I loved working with fresh produce. It's dynamic, something different every day, and what I thought would be a 4-year career while I was going to college turned into now 26 years.
So you went right into produce. When you got after that extensive interview,
I started pushing baskets in the parking lot.
Okay.
And when in a small store like that, when you're pushing baskets, you're also washing toilets and doing whatever else you got to do. So I did start at the bottom. Did the checking role for a little while. But in a small store, opportunities come up, and they needed some help in produce. So I went over and covered a few shifts in produce, and figured out that that's really what I wanted to do. So from there, I went into what we call the School of Retail Management, became a produce manager, and did that for a number of years, and had the opportunity, was given the opportunity to do a merchandising role. So I went around resetting produce departments, and I enjoyed that. I like taking on challenges, and then that led into a buying role. I was in Houston for a year buying, some of the people I'd worked with,
Right.
and bought produce for. Came back to San Antonio, did a corporate merchandising role, and enjoyed that. And that led to an opportunity to be a regional merchant and back in Houston. So I went back to Houston for my second tour of duty in Houston and spent 10 years there. And I was responsible for hiring produce managers, setting merchandising plans, accountable for sales and profit and that kind of a thing. And at that time had an opportunity to really grow my skills as a people leader. I think what I took from that role really was the joy and passion in investing into other people's careers. Along the way at H.E.B, a lot of people have invested in my career, and every time we're at senior leadership meetings, I seek those people out so I can go put my arm around them and hug them and thank them for everything they did. And then as a regional merchant, it was my opportunity to do that for other people. And to this day, I really enjoy seeing people get promoted and move to a higher level store, and it's really exciting.
Wow.
And now I'm BDM, so I'm back on the procurement side, and I buy bananas, tomatoes, potatoes, and nuts. I have a great team working with me. We really have a fantastic team of young, energetic folks in produce procurement. I think we've got the best team we've ever had. It's a world-class team, and really excited about the next couple of years. We're growing, as everybody knows. We've moved into here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and just a really great group of folks that are going to do great things in the next few years, I know.
That's awesome. Now, if I'm in the Hondo area, can I ask for Jeff?
Jeff, I think, retired out many years ago. But Ed, if you need a job, we can talk.
All right.
I will ask you a few more questions, though.
Yeah. That toilet cleaning job is still available there, so you'd be perfect for that.
I think the job descriptions now have like numerals after them.
Yeah,
probably.
There's probably no job description back then.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Well, look, produce, big part of your career life for
Absolutely.
sure. But I know you've been involved with some organizations as well when you spent time in Houston, and I believe those were produce kind of centric based education programs. Tell us a little bit about what is it, Provision and Recipe for Success for the two. I think you were a board member on Recipe.
I was a board member on both of those.
Right.
And Recipe for Success is a great organization in Houston, and I had the pleasure of serving on the board for I think about 5 years. I was there, and great organization. When you think about childhood obesity, the epidemic that's in our country now, it really goes back to folks not understanding nutrition and understanding what they're putting in their bodies. And I think it's important that it starts at the grade school level, and so what Recipe Success did really resonated with me, and I was excited to be a part of it. It's basically a curriculum at its core. It's a curriculum that first, second, third graders get to take a health class basically and learn about fresh fruits and vegetables. But then in a tangible way, they actually garden outside the school or on school property. And so they plant, they watch the plants grow, they water them, they have to weed, they have to take care of the plant all through the cycle. Then they harvest. And I was a part one time of a cooking event. So they took the vegetables that they had grown in the garden, and they prepared recipes for us, and we graded them, and it was just fantastic. And the impact of that program is that they then take that knowledge back to their families. And so Recipe for Success had a way of actually measuring the impact it was having on the families.
I was going to ask so they actually measured the effectiveness of what they were trying to do.
Exactly. And so what they believed they could do, they did. and they had a positive impact on families eating more fruits and vegetables. As the kids got excited about cooking, they brought that back. So that rung a big bell for me. Obviously, being in the produce business, I want people to eat more fruits and vegetables. So yeah, great organization. They do a lot of great work. Provision is another one, located in Sunnyside, inner city Houston, working with underprivileged youth in that community. And kind of the same thing, but a little bit different tack. It's more, it's a mentorship program for young men. And as a part of that program, they garden as well. And so they have actually a large garden. Last I was there, it was 5 or 6 acres, big
Wow,
piece of ground. Yeah.
That's a small farm.
Yeah, I actually drove the tractor myself when they first were tilling the land. I came out there and helped them out because I have a little bit of experience with heavy equipment way back.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So, growing different row crops, and they now have a hydroponic facility out there, and they're doing very well. And so we would partner with them. We still do. And they're young men that grow the vegetables there. We would have, this is back in 2010, I guess, market days at some of our local stores, and they would come sell their wares, and so they would learn from seed to to retail how to bring fresh fruits and vegetables to market. And so it was very exciting to watch that.
Did you see any of those individuals progress into the business? I mean, do you know any success stories around that?
Some of the best success stories were that they actually came back and worked with the school. So I know of at least 2 or 3 that I can think of that actually went on to college and then came back and worked for Provision and can invest back into mentoring young men themselves, having been mentees themselves. So yeah, a couple of great organizations with, obviously a tie-in to fresh produce, but great ways to give back to the community and invest in the next generation of produce customers.
Well, that's awesome. And, and man, what you're talking about there really is, for us, for the industry, those are the kind of things that at least I believe we need to be doing more of, right? Because, we have these shows and we all get together and talk about how do we market and how do we do it. Those grassroots efforts are some of the best marketing you can do for the entire industry, right?
Absolutely.
You convert people into understanding and believing. They understand what goes on at the farm level. They understand, how it's emotional and personal, and it's living. It's a living food versus a dead food. So
absolutely, and I think at the core of the issue is that folks really don't understand what they're putting in their mouth in many instances. And I've been on a personal journey myself. We were talking earlier about eating more fresh fruits and vegetables. Not to go into too many details, but my doctor told me that my blood sugar level was too high, so I cut sugar out. That's difficult. I don't know if you've ever tried to cut sugar out. When you start reading labels,
you're talking to Mr. Anti-Sugar.
There's
so,
sugar
yeah,
in everything.
Yeah,
I have a mild whipped cream addiction, so
I recall the first 36, 48 hours of going off of sugar. It was a withdrawal. It was a legit withdrawal, and so. More important to me than actually eating, sugar-free or replacing the sugar is just eating things that are naturally free of sugar or naturally more healthy. So more salads, more fresh fruits and vegetables. So it's really personal to me now.
The artificial sweeteners are a little tricky because so when we did the cleaning challenge the first year, I can't remember the doctor's name, the celebrity. Oh, Ian.
Yeah, I don't know.
Gosh darn it! A celebrity doctor helped us out the first year we kicked off the cleaning challenge, and he brought to my attention that artificial sweeteners can be a little bit dangerous because your body perceives it as sugar. So as far as your insulin triggers,
absolutely,
yeah.
So like when I was using 5 packets of Splenda to sweeten my coffee, thinking that I was doing myself good, it was actually from a physiological standpoint, relatively the same effect as far as insulin levels are concerned.
Sure.
So it can be kind of tricky.
The body is remarkably resilient, though. And so when I went through my sugar detox and I came out the other end, it wasn't quite as bad as I thought. It was a week that was pretty challenging, but I'm in a pretty good rhythm now. And it's just amazing how you look at food differently now. So my wife and I were at a restaurant the other day, and we were standing there as they were making a batch of sweet tea, which is my weakness. So the most difficult thing for me to give up was sweet. I'm a Texas boy. I love my sweet tea. And we happened to witness them making the sweet tea as we were standing there, and there was this bag of sugar, I guess it was a 5-pound bag of sugar, and they just dumped it in, and it hits differently when it's personal to you and you realize, the effect sugar has on your body. I thought, oh, I can't believe I did that for all these years. So.
Yeah, for me, that sugar is a drug as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely
I mean, it really
is.
and the negative effects that it has on the body, it's just far greater than anything else. I mean, but like you said, people don't realize how much sugar they ingest, even when they think they've stopped eating sugar. If you're not reading labels, if you're not paying attention to it, you're still taking in a fair amount of sugar, and then the substitutes aren't a good substitute. So.
Absolutely right.
And I was blessed, though. I'm being a native Texan as well. My dad was from West Texas. My mother from East Texas.
Okay.
East Texas, it was sweet tea. For whatever reason, West Texas, it was sugar-free, and we all drank. I grew up drinking iced tea that was unsweetened, and
good,
and coffee that was unsweetened. So it was easy.
I think it's West Texas, like all the way through to Arizona. Because when I lived in Arizona, nobody drank sweet tea.
Yeah. So
I'm counting calories as well. I know there's back and forth about the value of that, but what I've found out for myself is I drank a lot of empty calories. So I was probably consuming 12 to 1,500 calories a day of just sugary drinks.
Yeah.
But also intermittent fasting. I've experimented with that. I think everybody's.
We're big believers of that.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I guess everybody's body is a little bit different, but for me, and I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm staring at the business end of 50, so I can't control my caloric intake by eating 3 meals a day. I just can't. So I typically eat 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the same train 5 days a week, and then on the weekends, depending on what the family wants to do, I'm more flexible.
Yeah.
But 5 days a week, intermittent fasting.
Getting some moderate exercise.
I never thought I could do it. I mean, I never ever, and I mean, he's probably listening over here. TJ Flowers from Lone Star Citrus told me for 5 years. You probably told me too, but I got to give him credit because he's like, and he only eats once a day during the week.
Yeah,
and
that's the same. I'm on the same program.
I can't do that. But yeah, 2 o'clock's my first meal of the day. But like you, not that you don't. I mean, you can make time to count calories, but I don't want to.
Yep.
I'd rather just eat 2 meals.
Yep.
And then if it's heavy in protein, I'm really not hungry for dinner. So maybe I guess if I watched what I ate, maybe I could do the once a day. Once in a while, I'll go 23, almost 24 hours, but that's rare.
I take what I would call a flexitarian approach. I'm not vegetarian. I do eat meat. I try to limit my red meat, lots of chicken, but I do eat several meals a week that are free of meat, and that's.
I like flexitarian. That's the first time you've coined a phrase that I've yet to hear. Flexitarian's a new one for me, so I like it.
I don't think I actually coined it, but I'll take credit for it in this segment. But what it does for me is it helps me eat a better balance of vegetables. Most people's diets are deficient in fresh fruits and vegetables. So by eating the flexitarian approach, I get more fresh fruits and vegetables.
All right, we can't let you get out of here without at least giving your prognosis. What in the produce space in your years of being there, what you've watched, what has in this current day right now, what's the hot item? What's really out there shaking things up that's new and different? And do you see anything on the horizon that people are going to be leaning into, either to avoid meat or to make these lifestyle changes? I mean, any insight into what's going on today and what you see for the future?
Yeah, I wish I had a crystal ball. It's broken through these last 3 years. But I think the best thing I think that's come of all the turmoil the last few years is I think folks are paying a little bit more attention to what they're eating. I think they're looking for functionality in their food and their drinks a little bit more than they have in the past. So we see people hit the big buzzwords, the keto and vegetarian, vegan, all of that is obviously still trending. But I think folks are more willing to try new fruits and vegetables. You look at what's happened with dragon fruit, over the last couple of years. It was a relatively unknown, item, and now it's approaching mainstream. We sell a lot of dragon fruit and have a lot of fun with events. Jason Raddick, my counterpart, on the tropical fruit side, does a great job with that item. So I think folks are more curious now, but are really looking to understand what they're eating. And I think we have to be fast on the trends. I have the nuts and snacks category. The
nuts and snacks. Okay,
yeah. Yeah. So all your tree nuts and dried fruit and all that. So again, back to functionality. I think people are really looking for either protein replacement or energy, immunity, all those things. So when COVID hit, all of those types of items increased tremendously in terms of volume. Fresh juices on the fresh juice side, people really looking for immunity benefits and energy. So I think that'll continue. I think it's great that people are paying attention to what they're eating, and it's a great opportunity for us as retailers to educate and teach.
Cool.
A lot of demo opportunities, store demo opportunities, right?
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of that. We're just starting to get back into that in a small way after COVID, but I think it's the ultimate sales tactic too, getting something in somebody's mouth.
Oh, yeah.
I think produce is an emotional experience. And when I talk to suppliers, I want to be wowed because the customer wants to be wowed. So if I put something in my mouth and I get a big smile and wow, that's that's the response I'm looking for. And so, on my desk, I'm very flavor forward, especially on the tomato side. I want that experience that I know will translate to a customer experience and to be excited about it. So there's never been more opportunity, I think, than right now to educate folks about fresh produce. And it's an exciting time. It's not without its challenges. We're facing the same challenges that everybody else is. With labor and inputs of cost going up.
Inflation is just
inflation, all that. But I saw this. I remember in 2008 when the economy took a downturn. We were setting records and prime beef and all these kind of higher end products, and it was counterintuitive. And then we realized that in a time of inflation and tough economic times, people will pull back to the grocery store. They will eat out a little bit less. And so no matter what's going on in the economy and the world, it's always an opportunity for retailers and certainly for fresh produce as people kind of pull back to that default position of shopping at the grocery store.
Definitely noticed that.
Yeah.
Well, and the interview we did yesterday with Charlie Rocket, we got on the conversation about, we're really in the business of selling energy. We're in the energy space, the best kind of energy,
Absolutely.
right? And it's the most efficient human energy.
Clean burning,
efficient, right? Well, it is. It's a clean burning fuel, and that's what all these folks. That's what we all do here. It's what you guys do at H.E.B. I mean, you talk about whether it's pandemic, non-pandemic, people. They got to have fuel for the body.
Absolutely, and I'm living it right now. I'm understanding as I've cleaned up my diet, my energy levels are through the roof. That's actually, not to get back to the sugar thing, but that's actually what was my first red flag, is my energy level went in the tank. I was coming home from work and sitting on the couch, and my wife was like, "This is not like you." And so since then, and cleaning up the diet, my energy level is just back to where it was 10 or 15 years ago.
I'm going to send him our first podcast where I talked about laying on the ground after work and staring at my wife and saying, how the hell is she doing all this stuff? Because I feel like I'm going to die.
That was me. I lived it.
Yeah. Totally get it.
Yeah, and like I say, so my and my wife hates it, but I go ahead and say it anyway.
Oh, of course. She hates it, so you're going to say it.
And for me, Satan is manifested in sugar. That's just the way sugar is just.
You don't just accidentally
evil.
eat sugar once in a while? Like,
oh
man,
yeah, no, I do. There's no doubt.
I do. I'll be honest.
Okay.
I do.
How do you think you make an old fashioned?
Yeah.
You got to put a sugar cube in there. So yeah, I accidentally every now and then when I have an old fashioned, I have at least sugar. Again, it is. I don't. I'm not. I avoid a hell of a lot more than I used to. I mean, I'm very cognizant of it.
The world looks different though when you're thinking that way.
Yeah.
Everything that you shouldn't eat is just screaming at you.
Yeah.
The shopping experience is different for me now, but yeah, I like a good old fashioned as well.
All right. Well, you know what? Next show, we're going to bring old fashions. That's going to be our thing. All right.
We'll move you to the end instead of the beginning. That way we could wrap up with.
Shout out to my boss, David Figliola. You got to include him because he loves a good old fashioned.
Is he an old fashioned guy too?
Oh yeah.
So
nice.
are you familiar with Whistle Pig Rye?
I am not.
Oh my gosh. All right. So 10-year Whistle Pig Rye, straight traditional old fashioned single cube, and then do you have a smoke so you can do a smoked old fashioned?
I don't at home, no.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So they've got these little discs that you can put on top of it and make a smoke one, or you've got the globe that you can smoke it either way. But I'm telling you right there, I mean, just the process of making it is special.
I'm intrigued. Is it 5 o'clock yet?
Somewhere,
Yeah.
as they say, somewhere it is for sure.
Well, I'll tell you where they have a really good one next year at Viva Fresh in Houston at the Marriott Marquis.
Okay.
That's where I found that's where I found the Whistle Pig. I had never had Whistle Pig up until then. But it's a Whistle Pig 10-year rye. Well, look, we
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Really
it's
enjoyed it.
been a blast. And, hey, these things always seem to end too quickly, but
Yeah.
we'll get you back,
I appreciate it. I'd love
and
to.
have you come back in.